Now at 5, why the city of Lamar, Missouri is drilling another drinking water well. Plus, how the Galesburg, Kansas Fire Department is using a grant from Nutella. And
President Biden looks to reassure Democrats worried about his re-election bid. I'm Skyler Henry at the White House as his campaign fends off critics and attempts to bolster support from top lawmakers.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Crews have begun drilling a secondary water well in Lamar, Missouri. This is KOAM News at 5. I'm Dow Quick. The well is next to the East Water Tower in Lamar. City officials say the well will allow the city to stop using water from the Lamar City Lake. The second well is going to be 1,200 feet deep. The drilling is part of a larger project by the city.
We have to have a redundant water source to make sure we can provide our customers and our residents. Currently, we still are connected to the city lake, and our goal is to move away from the lake and provide only well water. Going to well provides several benefits. One's water quality, 2 is water flavor should improve, but also it lowers our treatment cost. It lowers the chemicals we have to put in to treat the water, lowering that cost and improving the water itself.
Construction on a well house will start shortly after the well is drilled. No word on a scheduled completion date. Nutella, the company known for its hazelnut spread, has given the Galesburg, Kansas Fire Department a $5,000 grant. The fire chief plans to use the money to replace an old fire hose.
It's a godsend. We operate on less than $20,000 a year, and we're using these funds to replace 50-year-old fire hose that needed to be replaced.
Chief says he looks forward to serving the community more efficiently. He hopes as they replace old equipment, they're going to be able to grow and retain more volunteer firefighters. Firefighters in Miami, Oklahoma hosted a fire safety class for local kids. The fire department brought trucks, firefighters, and fire pup to the library for the event called Adventuring into Fire Safety. The kids got another surprise when the Bureau of Indian Affairs wildfire team showed up with their own equipment and Smokey Bear.
You know, talking to kids about this, promoting this event, there are so many kids that have no idea really about wildfires, wildfire safety, that kind of thing. Nobody knows who Smokey Bear is anymore, that kind of thing. So I'm really excited to teach kids about this today.
The Miami Public Library's next event will be a summer Lego League next Tuesday, 10 a.m. Let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy now for our first look at the weather.
Yeah, it's been heating up a bit for us today as most of us got into low 90s, if not mid 90s, where we stand out across our western counties, Nowata, Independence, Neodesha, Yates Center, all sitting into the mid 90s. The humidity has kind of creeped up a little bit, so we do have some heat indices, kind of mid 90s, and then you hit 100 once you get down toward Veneta. And this is going to be our trend as we go through the next several days. We're also going to be watching for isolated to scattered thunderstorms popping up as we go through the evening hours, mainly along and north of I-44. As of right now, one little guy just to the east of Nevada, but besides that, pretty quiet. But these will start to pick up a bit as we go through the evening hours. So let's say after 6, 7 o'clock, you can see hit and miss storms. Here's 9 p.m. Let's go to about midnight, some scattered thunderstorms. We're going to be talking more about this here in just a bit.
See you soon. President Biden has had a busy week hosting a summit of world leaders and trying to convince nervous Democrats that he's up for the challenge of running for re-election. Many say they're going to be closely watching a solo press conference he's going to hold in less than an hour, his first such news conference since last November. Skyler Henry has more details now from the White House.
President Biden spent the day meeting with world leaders as the NATO summit he's hosting in Washington is coming to an end.
We are counting heavily on America's support in this. God bless America. Slava Ukraine.
We will stay with you, period.
All eyes have been on Biden throughout the event to see how he handles the rigors of the summit.
I have absolutely no concerns about the capacity of the current president of the United States.
But Americans themselves, including Democrats on Capitol Hill, say they will be closely watching the president's solo press conference this evening to see how he performs.
I think the president has to present a clear and convincing case to the American people, not only tonight, but in everything he does.
Senior Biden campaign advisors met with Senate Democrats behind closed doors to try to reassure them that the president can run and win. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries will be talking with the president himself to express concern some of his members have about the president's run.
We're continuing to have conversations with each other, and those have been candid, comprehensive, and clear-eyed.
A new Washington Post poll shows a majority of Americans and Democrats say that following the president's debate performance, he should step aside. But the poll also shows President Biden still running even with former President Trump. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The president's news conference is scheduled to begin around 5:30. You'll be able to see it tonight here on KOAM TV and CBS. The Washington Post poll in a hypothetical matchup has Vice President Kamala Harris running slightly ahead of Trump in a head-to-head matchup. Alec Baldwin's involuntary manslaughter trial continued today in New Mexico. Prosecutors are trying to prove Baldwin was acting negligently while holding a prop gun on the film set of the movie Rust. On the second day of witness testimony, jurors heard from a crime scene technician about whether she could determine how a live round made it to the movie set. Baldwin has pleaded not guilty, saying he did not pull the trigger. If convicted, he faces up to 18 months in prison. Still ahead, using AI to battle a common disability.
Dyslexia affects tens of millions of Americans, and it can be difficult to treat. I'm Michael George with how artificial intelligence is now being used to help.
Plus, researchers say they might have found a possible cause of lupus. Those stories next in Health Watch. Topping today's Health Watch, scientists at Northwestern University say for the first time they've discovered a possible cause of lupus. Researchers identified a molecular defect that impacts the body's immune system, and they believe it could lead to targeted treatments. Lupus affects more than 1.5 million people in the U.S. and can damage organs like the kidneys, brain, and heart. Dyslexia affects as many as 20% of people worldwide, and it can be challenging to treat. Michael George shows us how artificial intelligence is being used to help people with dyslexia.
Megan Odell says her dyslexia caused her to struggle inside and outside the classroom.
Just trying to communicate, because I had all these things I wanted to say and I wanted to express myself, but I couldn't even do a simple thing of just talking.
Dyslexia is one of the most common learning disabilities, affecting more than 40 million people in the U.S. It can make both speaking and reading a challenge.
The disorder happens because there are inefficiencies in the brain for language processing.
Dr. Coral Ho is a clinical linguist and helped create Dissolve.
Bays, band, bore.
It's a computer program that uses games to help treat dyslexia. Using AI, it adapts to someone's individual needs.
If Dissolve AI finds that a student has an error with item 1, it will continue to probe that. Why is the student having this problem with item 1? What is the source of that difficulty? And that's what we call responsive intelligence.
Pack.
Dissolve costs $1,000 a year. Dr. Ho says the program is needed because there aren't enough teachers to work with every person with dyslexia individually.
Because of the amount of resources that's required to do something like that, half the students with dyslexia are locked out of getting any kind of special services.
Odell says Dissolve has helped her enjoy reading more.
I hated reading, I hated writing, I hated speaking, I hated all of it, and now reading is one of my favorite hobbies.
There is no cure for dyslexia, but treatment can improve reading skills and make a big difference. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Dissolve is intended for anyone with dyslexia from kindergarten on up. Touch-screen devices like tablets might be detrimental to toddler development. That's the conclusion of a new study published in JAMA Network Open. Researchers found tablet usage was associated with decreased attention and responsiveness, while playing with physical toys was associated with better language skills. They say tablets can constrain play for toddlers in a way that real toys do not. Researchers at the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine say one way to make roads safer is to pay drivers to stop using their phones behind the wheel. A new behavioral study found when drivers were offered a monetary reward of $50 for staying off their phones, it cut down phone use by as much as 20% compared to people without a financial incentive. That is a look at today's health news. A little bit later, the June inflation report is released. We're going to break down which prices are up and which are down.
Plus, we're going to see some scattered showers and thunderstorms popping up this evening. Those details coming up. Well, of course, a little bit hotter for us today. Temperatures climbing into lower 90s across the region. Some areas mid to upper 90s. And we do have those afternoon little cumulus clouds which have been popping up, which you can see on our Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, of course, just outside of Seneca, Missouri. All right, it's Thursday. On Thursdays, our new drought tracker always comes out. You can see central Kansas, really Wichita and west, Oklahoma City and west. They still have a pretty good drought. But if we zoom into our region, especially with the rain that a lot of us picked up on Monday from the remnants of what once was Hurricane Beryl, so we're dry across Jasper County, Newton County, into Berry County, but overall, most of us are looking pretty good, which is good to see. All right, 90 in Carthage, 91 in Anderson, Veneta 93, but 95 Independence. Iola is sitting at 91. Let's go outside. Here's 7th and Rangeline sitting at 91. Southerly winds at about 10. The winds are actually going to pick up a little bit as we go through the next couple days. The humidity has gone up a bit. You can see our dew point 65 to 70. So if we look at our tracker, that makes it feel kind of sticky to muggy outside. And as those temperatures continue to climb, of course, it's going to feel a little bit more muggy and sticky across the region. So heat indices right now, mid 90s to upper 90s once you get out across Kansas and also Oklahoma. Through the evening, we drop back through the 90s, 80s into the 70s. Some isolated thunderstorms starting to pop up as we go through the evening hours. Not a whole bunch right now. Can't see one little guy getting going just to the east of Nevada, and then a couple more just north of Yates Center. And these are going to flare up as we go through the evening, especially along and north of the I-44 corridor as we get into the evening hours. Big dome of high pressure building out to the west, and what that's going to do is help those temperatures heat up even more as we go through the next few days. All right, let me walk you through time. Here's 8 p.m. Scattered thunderstorms, mainly along and north of I-44. Some of these storms could be a little bit stronger. If you get stuck underneath one of them, you'll get some pretty heavy amounts of rain. Here's 10:30. So from Joplin back toward Pittsburgh, southeastern Kansas, hit and miss storms will continue. Here's about 1:30 in the morning. Still scattered thunderstorms, and then they flare up again late tonight. So here's 5:30 in the morning. Still hit and miss at 9 a.m. and then most of these out of here once we get into the afternoon. High temperatures again mainly are going to be into the mid 90s for highs. Even tomorrow night into Saturday morning, we're going to see some hit and miss storms. So we'll start the day Saturday with a few storms. We'll end the day with partly sunny skies and temperatures heating up again into the mid to upper 90s. All right, day planner 73 to start. High temp 94 during the afternoon. Heat indices are going to get up there again tomorrow afternoon, upper 90s to about 104, 105 in our western counties. And then on Saturday, those heat indices are going to be creeping up as well. Most of us will be sitting in that 100 to 105 degree range. All right, 94 tomorrow, 96 Saturday, 99 Sunday, triple digit heat Monday and Tuesday. We do get a cold front in here the middle of next week, so hopefully that will cool us down back into the 80s.
Yeah, it's cold is relative, of course, but when it's close to 100, 80 is cold.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Thanks, Doug. Spotted lanternflies are making their return to parts of the country. Exterminators visited a home in New Jersey, treating areas where the invasive insects are popping up. While spotted lanternflies do not pose a threat to humans, they do cause billions of dollars a year in damage to crops and trees and other plants in the U.S. And experts say the extreme heat might be impacting their growth.
We're not going to see a sudden explosion in the number of lanternflies because of the heat, but what we could see is that they could move more quickly through the different stages. Because we do seem to be ahead of schedule with spotted lanternflies this year because it's been so warm, we might see adults any day now.
Exterminators say it's best to get ahead of a spotted lanternfly infestation and get rid of them early while they're growing and developing. Coming up, say goodbye to those iconic red DVD kiosks. We're going to explain why Redbox is shutting down. Topping today's Consumer Watch, the new Consumer Price Index report shows the inflation rate dropped slightly last month, cooling a bit more than expected. But in some categories, prices are still up sharply and consumers are feeling the pinch. Bradley Blackburn breaks down the numbers.
It's a sign of progress that so many have been hoping for. The Consumer Price Index was down by 0.1% in June. It's the first monthly decline since May 2020. Compared to a year ago, prices are up 3%. CBS News business analyst Jill Schlesinger.
Things are moving in the right direction. That's good news for consumers. It's also good news for investors who want to see the Federal Reserve cut interest rates.
The report shows good news at the gas pump. Compared to a year ago, prices are down 2.5%. In the used car market, prices are down more than 10%. But rent is up 5.2%. And auto insurance is up sharply by 19.5%.
The inflation rate is moving in the right direction, but it's probably not going to help a lot of families that are struggling amid high prices.
Even with inflation cooling, prices are still up about 23% over 5 years. That's roughly double what would be expected in normal conditions.
In California, winery owner Eric Hayes says higher insurance costs are forcing him to boost menu prices for the first time in more than a decade.
We held off for a long time, even with inflation and rising costs and cost of living, everything, fires, all that, but finally had to give in.
The index showed increases at restaurants and grocery stores last month. Even with overall progress, higher prices are still taking a bite out of Americans' wallets. Bradley Blackburn, CBS News, New York.
Cooling inflation could drive the Fed to finally start lowering interest rates. Economists say if progress continues, there could be a rate drop in September. The White House is handing out $1.7 billion to juice electric vehicles in America. The funding will help convert closed down or at-risk auto manufacturing and assembly plants to make electric and hybrid vehicles. The Biden administration says these projects will create 2,900 new jobs and save 15,000 jobs that might have been eliminated. Redbox is no more. The DVD kiosk rental business is shutting down after its parent company converted its bankruptcy to Chapter 7 liquidation. Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment, which owns Redbox, was nearly $1 billion in debt and owes millions of dollars to several entertainment companies. Target is shelving a payment option. The retailer will no longer accept personal checks starting July 15th. They're going to continue to accept other already accepted payment methods. Aldi and Whole Foods also do not take checks as a form of payment. Financial software solutions company Abrigo says about 61% of Americans are still writing checks. A final check of the forecast next. We're waiting for President Biden's news conference to begin at any moment, and you will see it live right here on KOAM TV and CBS. Then, if we have a KOAM news at 6, depending on the length of that news conference, you can expect to hear more from the city of Lamar, Missouri about its project to drill a second drinking water well. Plus, we're going to check out the Jasper County Youth Fair as they mark the halfway point. And a Webb City High School basketball standout makes the commitment to play at the collegiate level. Stay with us for President Biden's news conference, and then we assume KOAM news at 6. It's getting warmer and warmer out there.
It is, and it's going to continue to heat up. But at the same time, we're going to get some scattered thunderstorms this evening, tonight into tomorrow morning. Hopefully, you'll be one of the ones that get a little bit of rain. And then again, late tomorrow night into Saturday morning.
Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here at 6. Let's make it a great evening.